Hey YouTube, Meef here. Welcome to episode 24 of our FTB Continuum, quick tips and tricks. Today we're going to go over some of the precursor stuff in order to get to the old machine frame up here. As you can see, it's a little bit expensive. We're looking at titanium plates, some emeralds getting crushed up here, and it's a little bit expensive for these machines. But luckily we really only have to build them once to get the initial stuff started, and then the rest of the machines kind of make that a little bit easier for us. So as you can see here, like I said, this is kind of expensive. We're looking at titanium plates, going over electronic circuits and what we got to do to get some of the materials in order to make this happen. So let's go over here and take a look. So if you haven't been picking up on your emeralds, remember those are going to be a stack of pretty much any Pam's Harvest Craft. I think you can use regular Minecraft stuff too. Here I've got about 500,000 kiwis going. If you didn't catch it in our past episode, so episode 23, the garden cloche, you'll see that I'm no longer growing industrial hemp here or potatoes because that's happening back there. So check out that episode 23 in order to set that up. So right now I've got this set for nothing but kiwis, and I've been dumping this stuff in here to pick up these emeralds. So you're not having to dig for those. That's just one of the machines that's here and available. So keep that in mind. You're going to need emeralds in order to make that happen. So we've got some bronze here floating around. What else we got? We've got these advanced circuits and then electronic circuits. So let's look at some of the precursor stuff in order to do that. We do know that we need shit tons of silicone, or latex, excuse me. Silicone is something else later on. But in order to get some latex here, what I've had to do is do a little bit of automating on this. As you can see up there, there's an auto placer. So all this thing does is takes an inventory. I've got it set for oak. It's got an internal inventory. I've got it set up so that it just places this right in front of the old tree fluid extractor and then dumps it into these tanks. If you watch the last episode, you'll see that we're using these flat fluid nodes. Put that underneath here, dumps it right into the bottom. So you can see it building up. It's just doing its thing. They could put a few stacks in here just to fill this up, just to guarantee that this keeps going, but keep in mind you are going to need this latex. You're going to have it. So get a setup going like this. This auto placer is not fucking cheap. Let's take a look at the auto placer quick. So the ruby plates, these aren't expensive. You can find tons of these down while you're mining. Ruby dust into the compressor, no big deal, no problem. The real bitch of this is the highly advanced machine frame. So you're ending up with an advanced machine frame. You should be familiar with these. This is just a block of reinforced iron run through the plate on the metal press, a couple pieces of carbon, and then your advanced alloy. But the rest of this is going to be chrome titanium. Now, your chrome isn't all that difficult to come by. Really, I ran this stuff through the compressor. But in order to pick this stuff up, you're going to need chrome dust. And chrome dust is actually going to come out of your industrial electrolyzer, and that's going to be ruby dust. So in order to get that titanium and that chrome, you're going to have to be processing this dust. So grind up some rubies, get that stuffed into this machine. You're going to end up with some aluminum. But what you're looking for is chrome dust here. There's some other stuff down here. I'm not sure if this is a different planetary something or other. I haven't seen this stuff yet, so I'm thinking that's not on this Minecraft dimension. So keep in mind you're going to need it. The titanium and chrome, these are going to be really expensive, and it's going to take a shit ton of RF to get it created. So make sure you start this early and then run along with it. Let's go take a look over here. I'm going to see if maybe we can demo one of those electronic circuits. And let's do a little bit of we can do some processing here. Let's see, what have we got for? Let's pick up some copper wire. let's do that whole works. And let's look at machine frame. Let's get this back up. And so silicone, redstone, copper, and gold. Some silicone for some copper. And let's take a look at some gold. Okay. Now let's go run over to the EFAB here. This is drain, so let's hook this back in. I've got this disconnected. We'll demo this a little bit. Actually, we could probably do that right now. So building copper wire here really isn't a big deal. Really all it requires is your copper wire and then your latex. So this is sped up by a factor of 2, so I'm just going to go ahead and run this. There we go. And let's see, I'm going to stop this just to see if we can make this work. Just to show it. So if you look at here, the sped up factor is 2, duration is 2.5 seconds. And this one is the same, so this one's going to be pipes. So if you haven't worked with EFAB a whole lot, one of the things that the system kind of takes is some of the more add-ons you've got, the less time it will take to do operations. But depending on what you've got slapped on this machine, it can kind of be a little bit detrimental. I noticed that when I had another RF control stuck on this machine, that the craft operations for RF were outside of like the parameters for what should be there. So if you're wondering why in the hell you can't build something, or it looks like it's going and then it just stops, check to make sure you've got the right stuff hooked in there. Let's try this with this RF control. Put this on here. Let's finish this last craft on this guy just for shits. And then let's get this set. So this is going to be redstone. I think this is copper, gold, silicone. And we need a reinforced plate. So let's grab that. Okay. So as you can see here, so start the craft operation, duration 2.5 seconds. But if you look at this, see how it's the RF per tick is 2000. Now I don't think I have the throughput in to even do that. So right now I'm set up for about 1250 RF per tick. So this is just gonna straight up fail. See, it didn't do shit. Didn't do anything. It don't have the RF throughput there in order to even make this happen. So keep in mind that the progress here is lost. Pretty much just wasting RF at this point. Let's hook this back into the system. We'll get these guys loaded back up. But let's take a look at how this runs through here. I'm going to take this other RF control off here. So you are required to have one in order to use RF, the RF based portion of this machine. But now if you take a look, the RF per tick here, back down to 1000, right where it's supposed to be. So that RF per tick is added on these machines, RF storage. So you can see I've got 5 here, so each adds 250 RF per tick, so 5 for a total of 1250. So I'm gonna go ahead and make this thing. It shouldn't take too long. So as you can see, it is significantly faster than trying to empower that stuff over there. Not to mention you can stuff a whole stack of copper wires in there, a whole stack of copper, gold. You know, you don't have to stand there and constantly fuck around with that stuff. It's just available to you. Same thing works with the advanced form of that. Material is just different. Just notice that this is going to be 1250 RF per tick for 125 KRF. 125,000 RF is going to burn through there pretty quick. But one of the things you got to watch is make sure that your incoming power is there to match. So what I'm going to do, let's get this set back up. So let's get that put in there. That one's ready to go. So we talked about some of the latex, how to automate that a little bit. We've talked about the kiwi farm, and I think that's set. If you looked at the previous episode on 22 and part of 23, we went over the fuel stuff, but we're gonna need this now. So what I'm gonna have to do here is, since I don't have enough juice to make that machine casing, I'm gonna try and see if this will build out the way I want it to. So this is 800 RF per tick for 2.4 million RF. Now I think I have enough here. We're gonna demo this, and if it doesn't work, I'll have to go through and either figure out how to wire this up a little different, or I might have to find some way to buffer this a little bit better, like pulling this whole power cell out of here. But I'm gonna start this generator up. Downstairs I disconnected that void miner. There's a bunch of other shit I disconnected too. Let's get this noisy piece of shit running and get back downstairs. I do want to check to see what this is doing. So this has got enough build on there. It shouldn't be a huge issue. I'm hoping that we've got enough throughput in order to make this happen. Get back down here. Okay, so I've got the void miner shut off. I've got this line disconnected. That's not hooked in, but it's got an internal buffer, so that should be okay. These lines look saturated. Okay. Now I've got this clockwork engine stuck on here too. I probably won't need it. I'm just gonna put the damn thing on there just in case, because I'd really like to get this built. But I think there's gonna be enough there to make this happen. So I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm gonna click start and look to see. It looks like these are holding. Draw on there is good. This doesn't look too terrible. Alright, let's go back up and take a look at the power cell. That machine frame is, the setting on there is 2.5 minutes. So that's without any upgrades. That's just kind of the standard loadout, I guess, in order to make that. Let's take a look and see what this power cell is doing. 1.7 million RF per tick, so it's holding steady. So whatever this generator is pumping out, it's building. You can see it just popped 1.8 million RF. It's still going. So hopefully whatever's running downstairs, we've kind of mitigated what's going to the different machines. So windmills are still going. The water wheels down in the water wheel house, those are still running. And then that clockwork engine is sitting there. So I'm satisfied with that. Let's go downstairs and take a look to see if this actually did shut off. It sounds like it's still running. So RF storage is holding just like it should. Saturation in these lines is still at 34.2 kRF, which is good. Let's take a look at the progress here. So 60%, it's doing its business. And that's looking pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. So it looks like some of these machines, these are still doing its thing. This is reporting weird, but that's okay. And what's it look like fuel's doing here? That's finally emptied. That's going down too, but that's okay. Keep in mind that if you're going to start this operation with like the way this is kind of set up as well. You probably want to have enough fuel there to make that generator do its business at 2.4 million RF. I kind of waited in order to craft this until I knew for a fact I had a shit ton of biodiesel stored. So that way I wasn't guessing, really. But just kind of keep that in mind. So here it is. There's the first machine frame. And we can see that this quest did pop. So let's take a look. There's a hardened upgrade kit that you can claim here. I'm not going to use this right away. I'm probably just going to store it. So whatever machine I build, it's going to be basic. I'm not going to really waste that one right away. But let's take a look at the machines that this did kind of open up in here. Let's take a look at this. Crank that thermostat. Oh, this is a glacial precipitator. So this is pretty much making ice and snow, so you don't have to go out and find snowballs and ice and shit. That one I'm not really concerned about right now. Arcane and Sorcellator, Magical Tomes and Scrolls. We're not going to worry about that right now. Igneous Extruder is helpful, but also not going to worry about that. What the fuck is this? Separator. Separates alloys and core materials as well. Extracting. And here is what I was looking for. So the magma crucible and the fluid transposer. So this is the stuff that's needed in order to create the stuff for Signalium. Now you might be wondering, why in the hell is Signalium important? And let's take a look real quick before we end this episode. So if you look at EFAB, and let's go up to the processor. So in order to get the processor upgrade, and these are incredibly expensive. This cryothium dust isn't too terrible, but you got to come up with blizz powder. Now blizz rods, they're kind of a pain in the ass to get because you have to find the right biome, which shouldn't be that difficult. I mean, it really won't be that difficult to find, I don't think, but it does require blizz. But in order to get these digital upgrades and shit done, you have to have the stuff for the processor, but you also have to have the Signalium. And that's kind of a pain in the ass. But my real goal here is to get to this guy. Where are you? ME controller. And here's where it gets fucking ugly. 36 million RF. So, as you can see here, this shit gets incredibly expensive, but Signalium is required in order to get the digital upgrade stuff done. So it's going to take a shit ton of stuff in order to make that happen. But so yeah, that's the start of the machine frame. So the next episode we'll probably go over the magma crucible and then the fluid transposer. But really we should look at latex processing unit. And then we're gonna get some plastic. And the reason plastic is cool is so we can get some of these other machines ready to go. Like auto farming is already there. You can see this must be. This has got to be the shit to make a mob grinder. But this Pokemon's this. They used to call it a safari net, but this is where it's at for grinding up mobs. So we'll go over that some more once we've actually got the machines made. I think this episode has gone long enough, but just keep in mind that you're gonna need to do some significant planning. Keep that latex number up there. Plant your kiwis. Get a whole bunch of emeralds going, and just make sure that you've got enough biodiesel made so that you can power these machines. And and make sure that they've got enough RF per tick, because otherwise you're just going to waste all that RF. Even if it was at 95% and it drops, you're kind of fucked. So, all right, I think that's it for this episode. Until next time.